What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. We are back to action. I am your host, Jacob Bartley, and I am here to talk Power Rangers. This is the show where we do just that. We talk all things Power Rangers, including television, comics, movies, toys, anything like that. And welcome if this is your first time. Welcome back if you are returning. And this is one of my favorite things that I do because I love Power Rangers, and I don't know a lot of people that do or even like it. So being able to just talk to this camera and have a few people check out these videos is just all worth it for me. So I really enjoy doing this, and I am wearing a Power Rangers shirt today. Can't really see it without me standing up, but this is one of my favorite shirts that I own. But yes, today, I love this idea that I came up with for this episode, and that is casting a new team of Power Rangers and some of the supporting characters for a potential new movie. They are working on a movie, so we're going to go based on those details. Also, we will talk a little bit about something that I just purchased, a collectible, and that's pretty much it. There's not much going on in the world of Power Rangers right now. And no new comics yet. The next Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 50 comes out on June 24th, so I will review it that week. I did review Go-Go Power Rangers number 31 on the last episode, so you can go and check that out. But yes, before we get to my fan castings, I do want to show you guys something. I just got this in the mail like 2 hours ago. The Ranger Slayer Lightning Collection figure. I wish I could open this, but I'm not going to open it. I don't open my Lightning collection figures. Mighty Morphin Ranger Slayer. That is awesome. If you guys don't know, and look at her bow. That thing is so cool. I think, well, Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, and Ranger Slayer, I think the bow and arrow is my favorite Power Ranger weapon from a Ranger. And maybe not, maybe it's the Power Sword, but the bow and arrow is one of my favorite weapons in Power Rangers. And I did my Zords episode, I think I probably, because I was ranking a bunch of things in Power Rangers, so I ranked the Rangers, I ranked the villains, I ranked the Zords, so I think I'm going to have to do maybe costumes and weapons. That would probably be another good ranking. So maybe I'll do my top 5 my top 5 Power Ranger suits and my top 5 Power Ranger weapons. That would probably be pretty cool, and probably end up with a lot of Mighty Morphin stuff in there, but not necessarily always. But yes, that Ranger Slayer figure is awesome. It looks awesome. If I do find another one, because I pre-ordered that, and I wanted to get it to guarantee that I got it for a decent price. If I do find one at the stores or anything like that, I will buy a second one and open it and see, so I can kind of just see how the figure is. Because if you see here, I have a Lord Zedd figure right there. I was waiting so long for a Lord Zedd figure. Lightning Collection finally made one, and it's not the greatest figure in the world. It's fine, but the feet are terrible. He can't stand up straight unless you balance him very carefully. So I'm curious to see how the Ranger Slayer figure is. It is a newer model, newer edition, newer release, so maybe it's better quality. We'll see. I'm going to try to get my hands on one so I can open it. That would be pretty awesome. But yes, and one last thing before we get to my fan castings, I do want to tell you guys where you can find some off-the-grid merchandise. You can go to tpublic.com/user/apocalypse-movies, and you can find Off the Grid t-shirts. I will put the link in this video. Yes, there will be a link in this video to be able to find those t-shirts. You can buy mugs, you could buy bags, you could buy stickers, anything Off the Grid. Yes, go to tpublic.com, search Apocalypse Movies. It is under that banner because that is my main podcast that I do with my movie buddies. And yeah, we would greatly appreciate it if you do get a Power Rangers anything off the grid from T Public, please tweet at me at Jacob Bartley 824. You can go to Off the Morphin Grid on Instagram and share those photos with me. That would be super awesome. But yes, let's get into it. So this Power Rangers movie. So now, if you guys know, Hasbro owns Power Rangers now. So they had made a lot of movies with Paramount. They make the Transformers movies with them. So it made sense that Paramount is teaming with Hasbro to make a new Power Rangers movie. Now, if you guys didn't know, Jonathan Entwistle, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Jonathan Entwistle, creator, director of End of the Effing World and I Am Not Okay With This, both on Netflix. I have not seen those shows. I've heard good things though. He is supposedly working on that movie with Paramount and Hasbro, and he is. It's official that he is, and we don't know if we're officially ever gonna get this movie, but he is penned to work on it right now. So a few things here, and I got this from the Hollywood Reporter. We all know this. So the story is said to involve a time travel element that brings kids from the 1990s, that brings kids to the 1990s. And in Back to the Future fashion, they have to find a way to get back to their present. So that is supposedly what the film is going to be about. We don't know if that's for sure or not. That might not be the case, but that is what we've heard. So basically, modern day teenagers are going to go back to the 90s and try to find their way back home, back to the present, and maybe they become Power Rangers along the way. I have no idea how they're going to do that. But that is going to be interesting. Like, for example, I don't know if all the Rangers, like, let's say they do the original Mighty Morphin characters, right? Which I'm going based off of. So if they do, I don't know if Jason, Kimberly, Trini, Zach, Billy are going to be in modern day, and then they travel to the 1990s and become Power Rangers during that time. Or are they the Power Rangers during that time and other characters travel to the 1990s? It's going to be interesting. There's different ways they can do it, and I'm really curious. So for my casting, I kind of have an idea of how it should go for my castings, but I'm still not 100% sure how they're going to deal with that. But hey, look, we had a 2017 movie, and I loved that movie, but there's things they could have done better, and obviously it bombed at the box office. So, look, they tried to give us an origin movie where it's taken very seriously, very other than the putties and the suits and the Zords at the end. Other than that kind of stuff, very dark tone, very like Nolan trilogy-esque of The Dark Knight, trying to make the Power Rangers serious, which is great. There's so many things about that movie that I love. The cast is incredible. Zordon is amazing in that movie. So there's so many things about that movie that are hard to let go because they did such a great job with certain things, but the movie bombed, so they got to do something different. So I say start fresh, start a new movie, do this. This sounds great. It's going to be fun. It's something different. It's kind of a hook to draw people in if you're having it be kind of Back to the Future-esque in a way. So I'm cool with that. And just a few things that Entwistle had said, and I got these comments from comicbook.com. So there's a few comments that he said about working on about Power Rangers. He said, there may be some truth in it, but right now it's not something that is particularly far down the line. So it's a very top-level conversation. And that's talking about the movie and how it's going to be kind of like his material, which is I've heard his material, his shows, Into the Effing World, I'm Not Okay With This, are very dark. And he said it would definitely be along the lines of what I'm known for. Darker is not necessarily an angle. I feel like that's been done in the Power Rangers universe before. So he's referencing probably the 2017 movie. So he's saying it's going to be done in what he's known for, but it's not going to be that dark. So I'm hearing his stuff is dark, but he's saying it's not going to be that dark. But who knows what the end product is going to be. I don't know anything about Jonathan Entwistle, so I'm not going to say he's a great fit or a bad fit, whatever the case may be. I want to watch his stuff. So maybe for an Off the Grid episode, I will binge End of the Effing World and just discuss that show and whether I think he's a good fit for Power Rangers, and maybe do the same for I'm Not Okay With This. But we will see once we come to that. So now that we have that, so that is the movie that I'm choosing my cast for. Whatever they're working on with Jonathan Entwistle, with the time travel element, that is the movie that I am casting for. So let's get into it. All right, so before we talk about specific names for casting, right, I am a few things. I'm going to be casting them as like seniors in high school, but we always know it's always adults playing seniors in high school or playing high school students. Like the original Mighty Morphin cast were grown men and women playing high schoolers. So I might have a 28-year-old playing a high schooler, but that's kind of what always happens with these kind of castings, because I don't know a lot of actors in their teens who could actually play teenagers. So it's kind of hard. And I'm not just picking random names. I'm picking actors who I have watched before and think that they would do a good job in these roles. Another thing, we all know as Mighty Morphin fans, like if you're smart, you know the color assignments for certain actors and certain characters is not necessarily sensitive to racial concerns, to say the least. So, to me, who the characters are, for the most part, do not reflect what color they're wearing, which weapons they use, and which Zords they use. So I think for the most part, for 99% of Power Rangers characters, you can switch them to a different color suit and Zord, and it's not going to matter. I know how us people who grew up on Mighty Morphin and how nostalgic it is, how we want to stick to the same characters being the same colors. But for me, in order to make the characters a similar race to what they were, and not all of these castings are, but while keeping the character who they are, I did switch some of the colors around. For example, I have Billy as a different colored ranger, not blue. I have Trini not as yellow. I have Zach not as black, as for their suit colors. And look, some people might get upset at that notion because you might say Billy has to be the Blue Ranger, but does the actual color blue or the Triceratops Zord have anything to do with the Billy character? Does it change anything if you switch him to the black or the yellow Ranger? No, it doesn't. So unless you're saying the Red Ranger is always the leader, then Jason has to be the Red Ranger, right? So that's, I have Jason as the Red Ranger. But for this, I have changed some of the colors, so don't get mad. I think it's necessary. You cannot have an African-American character be the Black Ranger, and you can't have an Asian character be the Yellow Ranger. It's just not right, and especially right now. And so I just switched some of those, so no big deal. So that being said, that is what I'm going based off of. We know the movie circumstances and now the casting circumstances. Now, being that there's time travel in this movie, I think there's room for them to include Lord Drakon, or at least tease him in this movie. He's not going to be the main villain of the first movie, but I think any Power Rangers property, the smart thing to do is go into Shattered Grid ASAP. You can't do just a Shattered Grid movie right off the bat, but you start laying the groundwork for a Shattered Grid in this movie, I think it would be great. And also, we already had the original 5 Rangers without Tommy and without the Green Ranger. I'm including Tommy in this movie. In this movie, he's already the Green Ranger. And we will see that. So I have Tommy in here. I have Lord Zedd in my movie, and I have Lord Drakon at least teased in my movie. So I will be casting all of those as well, as long as the main Rangers. Okay, now we have the setting. So I'm saying, let's say we go to the 90s, and there's already some Rangers here, okay? Now, this is my idea. If you're having time travel, you take one or two characters in modern day, they time travel to the 90s, and the Rangers already exist in the 90s, and they're already there. So, for my Red Ranger, I have Logan Lerman, who is one of my favorite actors working today. So, Logan Lerman here, he is maybe my favorite young male actor working today. He's just awesome. He's great in everything he's in. If you don't know, he was in the Percy Jackson movies. He was in Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is a fantastic movie. He was in Fury, which he was great in. He was in 3:10 to Yuma, which he was great in. He's on that new show on Amazon, The Hunters Show with Al Pacino. I haven't seen it, but I heard he's great. Look, this is my Jason Scott right here. I think I've been following his career for a while. I think he would have made a great Spider-Man. He deserves a big chance. And look, he's already established himself in Hollywood. He's a legitimate force in Hollywood right now. So he doesn't need this, but I think it would be good for him. He's not necessarily part of a franchise right now. And look, that could be our Jason Scott right there. I totally believe it. So my Red Ranger / Jason Scott is Logan Lerman. So I would be so happy with that. Look, I actually had him as Tommy at first, but I thought about it, and my movie is going to have the Green with Evil saga involved in this. So if in my head, this movie, the events that are going on in the 90s, once we get there, is the Green with Evil saga. The Green Ranger is fighting the Power Rangers, and I think that would be pretty cool. So with that being said, I had Logan Lerman as the Green Ranger at first, as Tommy, but I was like, no, I don't. He could do it. He's a great actor, so he could play a villainous role, but I didn't see him in that intimidating, like, villain role, so I chose somebody else as Tommy. But Logan Lerman would be my Jason Scott Red Ranger if he would be open to it. Okay. So now moving on to Kimberly. So Kimberly is just one of my favorite characters ever in anything, but definitely I did my Power Ranger rankings list and I had her at number 2. I had her at number 2 overall. So I am very sensitive about this character, and there's a young actress who I have just loved her in everything she's in lately, and her name is Diana Silvers. She is currently, you can see her in Space Force, and this is actually a shot from Space Force. She kind of reminds me of Naomi Scott a little bit, but that's not why I chose her. I just think she's a great young actress. She was in the movie Ma, she was in the movie Ma, that little horror movie. She was in Booksmart. Again, she's in Space Force. Everything I've seen this girl in, she does a great job. And I just think she would capture the Kimberly character very well. So this would be my number 1 choice for Kimberly, the Pink Ranger. And for me, when I'm making these choices, look, I can cast a dream casting like Haley Steinfeld or something, right? But I don't think she would do it. She's not in the point of her career where she has to do a Power Rangers movie. She could, but I think she's I would like these roles to go to actors who I think realistically would actually take the job. So Logan Lerman, I believe he would. Diana Silvers, I believe she would, and I think she would be a great fit. If you haven't seen her in anything before, check out Booksmart, check out Space Force. She is great in both. So that would be my Kimberly Hart, is Diana Silvers. All right. So moving on. So as you can see, Jason and Kimberly stay the Red and Pink Ranger. That was a little hard for me to change. And there was no need to change them, so it worked out. I mean, I could have switched one of the other characters with them, but the way I did it, I think it works out. So now, moving on to Zach, and for these purposes that I was talking about, I'm going to have Zach be the Yellow Ranger. It's also a thing where a female doesn't have to be the Yellow and Pink Rangers. I mean, they can be, but they don't have to be. So I think it's cool to make Zach the Yellow Ranger, and the character itself is going to be black. And I think a great casting for Zach, which I'm so excited about this, would be Shameik Moore. He is from the movie Dope. He voiced Miles Morales in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Shameik Moore would be a fantastic Zach. Look at this guy. Tell me he does not capture that Zach feeling. Look at that. That is totally... He could totally pull that off. I want him to kind of embody the Zach character that we knew from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers television series. But like I said, he doesn't have to be the Black Ranger. I would, in my situation, you could switch it around however you want. You could switch the colors around however you want. But for this movie that I'm pitching, or these fan castings that I'm pitching, I'm having Zach be the Yellow Ranger. Look, like I said, the colors and the Zords are going to be irrelevant. They're not even going to mention it in the movie. They're just going to be like, oh, cool, like I'm the Yellow Ranger. And he can totally rock the Saber-Tooth Tiger Zord. So Shameik Moore would be my Zach Taylor. I think that would be a great casting there. All right, so now going on to Trini. So in my color swap, I have Trini as the Blue Ranger. I think that would be really cool if you had her as the Blue Ranger. And so the original actress who played her was a Vietnamese actress. So I wanted to go with an Asian actress to play Trini, but I wasn't gonna make her the Yellow Ranger. So I have Trini in the film as the Blue Ranger, and my casting choice for Trini would be Lyrica Akano. Now, if you don't know who she is, she's in the Marvel's The Runaways on Hulu. Great show. She's one of the leads of the show, and she's really good on it, and I would love to see her get something else, another prominent role in Hollywood. And like I said, I believe all of these actors would take these roles and would benefit from these roles. And I'm getting so excited imagining this cast in my head and on screen together as the Power Rangers. Like, now I really want all these actors to play the Power Rangers. But yes, this would be my Trini right here, Lyrica Akano. All right, so to wrap the last original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, it's going to be Billy. And as you can see, so Billy would be my Black Ranger, meaning he would have the black suit and the black, he would have the Mastodon Zord. So yes, I had Billy, and I played around with different ideas for Billy, but I ultimately decided, look, all of the characters would stay true to who the characters are, right? Jason, strong leader type character. Kimberly's a very girly girl, and there's nothing wrong with that, but she's still a very strong character. Billy's a very intelligent character and the brains of the operation. And so I played around with a bunch of different ideas, but for me, and for multiple reasons, I think he would do a good job. And I also, I do like him. And there's also another reason. His name is Mina Musad, and he played Aladdin in the Aladdin film. He's in the Jack Ryan series on Amazon. So a while ago, there was a report that came out that since Aladdin, he has been getting no job offers. And me and the guys at Apocalypse Movies, we talked about this and how that's completely unfair. First of all, he's being typecasted, and he's not being given opportunities when he did a really good job in Aladdin. So and he could take some advice from his co-star Naomi Scott on Aladdin about a Power Rangers movie. Mina Masad, I would cast him as Billy, and then we have a little bit more diversity here as well. And I think, look, we would have him play the Billy that we know, and he would still be the intelligent part of the group. He'd be the brains of the operation, the one working in a lab, but he would just have the black suit and the Mastodon Zord. So this would be my Billy Cranston would be Mina Musad. I think that would be pretty cool to see him in a role like that, and I think he would do it, and I think he would do a great job. All right, so those would be my 5 Rangers, my 5 original Rangers right there. Logan Lerman as Jason, Diana Silvers as Kimberly, Shameik Moore as Zach, Lyrica Okano as Trini, and Mina Masoud as Billy. I think that would be so cool. So we have our team. Now, in this movie, you would have a new kid who came to campus, and his name would be Tommy Oliver, and he's the Green Ranger, of course. And you have this Green with Evil saga. And for me, look, I think they should bring Zedd in right away. They should bring Tommy in right away. And I would say maybe this movie starts with the Green with Evil saga, and maybe near the end is when he kind of comes back, or that the Tommy character, maybe the end of the movie, one of the climaxes of the movie is the Power Rangers defeating him and him kind of realizing that he was under a spell and then goes away for a while or something like that. But my Tommy Oliver would be Dylan O'Brien. So I said I almost had Logan Lerman as my Jason. So at first I had Dylan O'Brien as my Jason and Logan Lerman as my Tommy. And the more I started to think about it, I had to flip those around, because I think Logan Lerman would do a better job at like the morally secure leader, and then I think Dylan O'Brien would do a better job at playing this evil Tommy. Look at that hair. He can totally pull off the Tommy look there, and I can see him playing that evil role as well. And you can have him as evil at first, and then he eventually comes to his senses, and we would probably have the Tommy and Kimberly romance going on. So I think he would be a good fit with Diana Silvers to do that. So this would be my young Tommy Oliver, and I say young Tommy Oliver because I think this movie could hint at a Shattered Grid storyline, and this would be the perfect time to do it. So in Shattered Grid in the comics, the alternate dimension Tommy is older. He looks like he's in his 40s, and the young Tommy is a teenager. So you have Dylan O'Brien playing the teenage version of Tommy, and then you have Jason David Frank, the original Tommy, playing Lord Drakon, the older version of Dylan O'Brien, in an alternate dimension. And you can have his face look all roughed up and scarred like he does in the comics, and actually have Jason David Frank playing Lord Drakon. Now look, Lord Drakon would not be a presence in the movie necessarily. He would basically be the post-credit scene of the film, and there would be this theme or dilemma where Tommy, the character Tommy, is struggling with his identity. Is he bad? Is he good? He really struggles with it. And then you have this tease towards Lord Drakon, because if there's time travel involved, right? Maybe the initial time traveling makes Drakon realize that he can go to these different dimensions and start taking over. So then the sequel would start with Shattered Grid. And I think that would be such a great idea, because look, Shattered Grid has to do with different dimensions and time travel and all of that. So if you could say the kids traveling from modern day to the 90s opened up some type of window in order for Lord Drakon to jump from different dimensions to start attacking different Power Ranger teams, I think that would be pretty cool. And you could have a post-credit scene where he's just saying, oh, look, we found an open window to take this on, and you show Jason David Frank as Lord Drakon, like a legit Lord Drakon. I think that would be so cool. Also, so in my film, I don't know I wanted a couple characters to travel time travel and then meet the Rangers in the 90s, and whether these are those characters or they're just friends of them at high school. So basically, I wanted to have a couple other familiar characters in the movie who become Rangers later, but as of right now, they are just regular people. Like, they're just friends or classmates of the other Rangers. So in my movie, I would have Aisha, the second Yellow Ranger in my movie, and I would have Catherine, the second Pink Ranger. they would just be students at the school and who interact with these other students at the school who are our main rangers. So as Aisha in the movie, who would eventually become a Power Ranger, I would have China Ann McClain play her. Now currently she's on the show Black Lightning. She plays Black Lightning's youngest daughter, and she's been on a bunch of Disney Channel stuff. So she's in that Descendants show as well. So yes, I would have China Ann McClain play Trini. I think that would be super awesome. And then for Catherine, I would have Angourie Rice. She's in the Spider-Man movies, and she's also she was in The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling. She played Ryan Gosling's daughter. So yes, I would have China Ann McClain as my Aisha and Angourie Rice as my Catherine. And yeah, and they would just be supporting characters. They would be students at the school. So there you go. That would be the main cast of my movie. I would also have Lord Zedd in there as well. And we did a casting table on Apocalypse, and I had chosen Carl Urban as my number one choice for Lord Zedd. So I would have Carl Urban be Lord Zedd. I would have Rita in the movie as well, but it would be her and Zedd and Rita would be kind of working together in this movie. They're probably married at this point. So I would have Lucy Liu play Rita Repulsa. I think she would do a fantastic job at that, and I want to see some action. I want to see Rita actually fighting the Power Rangers. And then also I would have Ranger Slayer in the movie of the toy. So if you're going to have Lord Drakon, you have Ranger Slayer. So possibly maybe there's a post-credit scene like I talked about, and somebody's reporting to Lord Drakon, hey, there's been a window that opened up and we can finally travel to these dimensions. And then Lord Draken's like, good, I just saw a version of myself become good again, talking about the Dylan O'Brien Tommy. So he was watching that version of himself, and this is Jason David Frank, and he's very disappointed that his Tommy became good. So now that he knows this window's up, he's going to go after them and go after him, like we saw what happened in the comics. And I'm not saying what happens in the comics is going to happen, but this is just the setup for a sequel. And the person telling him that window open is Ranger Slayer, and it's Amy Jo Johnson playing Ranger Slayer. And the way you can get away with this is this alternate dimension, which it's already established in the comics, where Lord Drakon is a lot older than the Tommy in the main timeline. You could have Ranger Slayer be a lot older than the Kimberly in the main timeline, and you could have Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Ranger, play Ranger Slayer. I think that would be so cool. It would be such an homage to Mighty Morphin, and it would be so cool for us fans. And then you have them in the sequel as the main villains, possibly. So, and look, they're going to look very different. They're going to look more like, they're not going to look like their traditional selves from the original show, or even what they just look like in regular life. They're going to look like the characters from the comics, how Lord Drakon and how Ranger Slayer look. With Ranger Slayer has the short hair and all that stuff. So there you have it. I'll run it down one more time. I would have Logan Lerman as my Jason Scott, the Red Ranger. I would have Diana Silvers as my Kimberly Hart, the Pink Ranger. I would have Shameik Moore as my Zach Taylor as a Yellow Ranger. I would have Lyrica Akano as Trini, as a Blue Ranger. And I would have Mina Masad as Billy, as he would be the Black Ranger in this scenario. And then I would have Dylan O'Brien as my young Tommy Oliver, as the Green Ranger. And then as supporting characters, I would have China Ann McClain as Aisha, and I would have Angourie Rice as Catherine as well. So that is my casting, and like I said, I would have Jason David Frank play Drakon. I would have Amy Jo Johnson play Ranger Slayer. I would have Carl Urban play Lord Zedd, and I would have Lucy Liu play Rita Repulsa. There you go. hire me as a casting director. I would help you out with casting this movie. And like I said, I think all these names are realistic, and there's no way that all of these names are going to end up being cast in that movie. But who knows? Maybe out of the 10 names that I listed, one of them gets cast in the movie. Maybe not as the character that I chose, but hey, it's possible. Like I wanted Brie Larson to be Captain Marvel, and I predicted it, and it happened. So that one of these is definitely possible as well. So that's going to do it. Let me know in the comment sections what you thought of my list. Do you like my castings? Which one of my castings are your favorite? Which ones don't you like? Do you like my story ideas? I didn't really get the story down that well because I was kind of all over the place with the time travel and all that, but this was more about actually casting the characters. So I'm curious what you guys think, what everybody thinks. Let me know in the comment section and we can have some discussions. Again, I'm Jacob Bartley. That's going to do it for this episode of Off the Grid, a Power Rangers podcast. I have a blast. I love talking Power Rangers. I have a blast every time. So check this episode out. Check out my other episodes and check out next week's episode as well. For now, we are doing every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will see you all next week. Until then, may the power protect you.